Okay, so this is the second part of the section on self-disclosure, where we looked at why you might choose to disclose. Before you listen to this second half of the section, I'd like you to look at I uploaded as a PDF exercise 3.8 reasons for non-disclosure. I'd like you to do that and think about things that you would not disclose. And then think about if someone asked you a question about this, how would you respond? Because there are alternatives to self-disclosure. Okay, so let's say that here are the scenarios from the textbook. You've grown increasingly annoyed with some habits of the person you live with. You fear that bringing up this topic could lead to an unpleasant conversation and maybe even damage the relationship. Will you bring it up or won't you bring it up? Your friend who is headed out the door for an important job interview says, I know I'll never get this job. I'm not really qualified, and besides, I look terrible. You agree with your friend's assessment. Do you self-disclose or not? You've just been given a large, extremely ugly lamp as a gift by a relative who visits your home often. How would you respond to the question, where will you put it? Okay, so if you choose not to self-disclose, you have 4 options. And let's take a look at each of them. The first one is silence, not saying anything. Now, obviously, if someone asks you a question, you have no choice. You can't, hey, my mom's calling me, I gotta go. There was a commercial, I think for Twix. The woman comes out and she says to her husband, do these pants make me look fat? And truthfully, they did. And so he stuffs the candy bar in his mouth so he doesn't have to answer. Okay, so silence in answer to a question will not work, but sometimes we choose not to share information. Okay, so that's one of them. The other one is lying, or another one is lying. There can be an outright lie, and we're looking mostly at the idea of a benevolent lie that's not a malicious lie. Somebody makes something, they make you some soup because you're not feeling well, and they bring it over, and you take a sip and you don't like it, and they say, how is it? Are you going to say it tastes terrible, or I don't like it, or do you say it's good? Okay, that would be a benevolent lie, where really you are lying to help the person not feel bad. On page 95, there's a chart that gives many reasons why we might lie. Okay, and these are more in, they're not malicious lies. They might be a little self-serving, but they're done for a variety of reasons, and they tend to be more benevolent than malicious. Okay, the next two can be a little challenging to figure out. There's equivocation, and then there's hinting. Okay, equivocation, you're using language that is vague, where there are 2 or more plausible meanings. Okay, what's the standard? So I have a jacket that I love, and it is, I think it's originally from India, and it's orange and turquoise and black and pink, and it has little mirrors on the back, and it's just colorful and fun. And I walk into class and I say, what do you think? And you might say, I've never seen anything like it before. Well, what exactly does that mean? It can mean it's unique and wonderful, and it can mean it's awful. But you are saying it in such a way so that you are not being clear on what you mean. And I'm going to go to the chart on the next page, and then I'll bounce back. Okay. So on the again a 4 quadrants. The top, these are things that are equivocal. They are not clear, and on the bottom they're clear. And then you can be truthful or you could be false. So your relative gives you a painting, and it is maybe it's an abstract, or it's the dog's playing poker, whatever it is, and they give it to you, and you say, "What an unusual painting. I've never seen anything like it." It is true, but it's equivocal because what do you mean exactly? Okay? You can be equivocal and also lie. "Thanks for the painting. I'll hang it as soon as I can find just the right place." And what you're implying is the place is right behind the garbage cans. Okay? When you say "thanks for the painting," that's why it's false. Okay. You can be true and clear. "It's just not my kind of painting. I don't like the colors, the style, or the subject." And then you can follow up with, "But thank you so much for thinking of me." It doesn't have to be cruel. Being truthful does not mean being mean. Or what I think a lot of people go to is the clear but false, "What a beautiful painting. I love it." Okay, so anyways, hopefully you get a little bit more of the sense of equivocation. All right, the last one is hinting, where you are making a statement that is going to nudge the person towards the truth. And they give a couple of examples in the textbook. I like this one. You're talking with someone and you need to leave, and you might say, "I'm too busy to continue this conversation. I wish you would let me go." You probably wouldn't say that. That's too direct. So you might say, "I know you're busy. I'd better let you go," which is a hint that the conversation needs to end. A direct statement might be, "Please don't smoke here. It bothers me." A face-saving hint would be, "I'm pretty sure smoking isn't permitted." So you want the person to to change their behavior in some way, to act in a certain way, but you're not coming out and saying it directly. Okay, so we saw the equivocation. So here's the question. Is it ethical not to answer, not to self-disclose? Or is it always better to be forthright? So let's look at this. Evasion provides you a way to manage a difficult situation. That sometimes, if a friend of yours is having a really terrible day, like remember that friend who said, "I'm not going to get this job because I'm not qualified," saying, "Yeah, no, you're right," is probably not a good thing. So, maybe you say, "Hey, you go out there and you do the best you can." You haven't lied, but what you've done is you've kind of sidestepped, you've evaded the difficult conversation. However, there are times when it is best to be honest, where honesty is the right approach, even if it is the painful way to go. Now, I don't have any hard and fast rules to share with you, but I would ask you to think about these 4 questions when you are thinking of, should I self-disclose or should I come up with an alternative? Are the effects of a lie worth the deception? Okay. Is the indirect message in the interest of the receiver? It's definitely in the interest of you, the sender, but are you doing it to make things easy for you, or are you doing it to be helpful for the other person? Is evasion the only way to behave? And how would others respond if they knew what you were really thinking or feeling? So these are things that you need to think about. So what I want to do, and if we were in a classroom, I would actually have you divide up into groups and we would take a look at this. So I just want to go through one and then I'll have you think about it. Okay. Your friend asks if you had a good time when you were out with his cousin last night. And you could self-disclose. "I didn't have a great time, but then we were just getting to know one another. I don't think that we had much in common." You haven't said anything that's cruel. You haven't been too blunt, but you've explained the situation. What if you say nothing? "Huh, did you have a good time?" And you say nothing? Your friend is probably going to think, "Oh, it must be really bad if she won't even tell me, or he won't even tell me." What if you lie? Your cousin was a lot of fun and the movie was great. then they're going to say, great, I've set you up to go out again tomorrow. Okay. You could equivocate. First dates are really times of discovery, aren't they? And then the subtext is, and I discovered that I don't really care for your cousin. Okay. Hinting, I don't think I have to have a great time every night. Okay. Which implies I did not have a great time, but you haven't come out and said it. All right. And then asks you to think of which response is the most effective and which response is the most ethical. Okay. So this person decided that equivocating would be effective because it wasn't self-disclosing because it wasn't completely honest, but it also kind of, helped your friend save face a little bit. Okay. So what I wanted to do was, these are small. All right, let's look at these 4. And I'm going to ask you, I will be quiet after I set this up, and I'll leave it for a little while and let you decide. Your roommate has a bad week at work, and maybe you're at a company gathering, and the boss says, so how is so-and-so feeling about the company? How could you carry off self-disclosure, silence, lying, equivocating, and hinting? And which response do you think would be the most effective, and what's the most ethical? And you have to decide. Everyone has their own ethics, and you have to decide by being effective, what am I looking at? Number 2 is you're looking to apply to rent an apartment that prohibits animals. You have a cat. What do you do? Your sibling asks you about their financial status, which is much better than theirs. And the last one, your roommate asks what you think of the bright posters they've put up around the living room. Okay, so there's no right answer. Each of us is going to have a slightly different idea of how we would behave. But see if you can come up with, if you're going to self-disclose, how would you do it? If you were going to lie, what kind of a lie would it be? And I would think, like, why would you lie? Equivocating, where you make a statement that's, kind of doesn't say much. It's pretty vague. And hinting, where you're not going to say it, but you're nudging the person towards the truth. And then afterwards, you're going to think, can I get them all up here? Which is the most effective response and which is the most ethical response? All right, so I'd like you to take a look at this, figure it out, ask me any questions. I'm going to put this. We'll have a disclosure. We'll have a discussion about self-disclosure.